Welcome to Renewed and Redeemed, where we share stories of how God has renewed and redeemed the lives of everyday people. Today on episode 6, we hear our host, Crystal, share her testimony with our special guest, Iris. She discovers God's unrelenting love, patience, and forgiveness. We hope this episode blesses you.
I just kept on looking for things to try to come out of that depression or to fill this need inside of me. I just couldn't find anything, and I just was at this point in my life where I just felt so hopeless. And I just felt like, if this is it, what's the purpose? Like, what is the purpose of my life if this is all there is? Hey everyone, welcome to Renewed and Redeemed. Today we're going to mix things up a little bit because I have an extraordinary guest with me today who I am not going to be interviewing, but she is going to interview me. You may have heard of her before if you listened to the episode with Danielle, as it's Danielle's daughter and my niece, Iris. A little bit about Iris: she's extremely funny. She's an amazing storyteller, and she has some hilarious stories. She's super caring and thoughtful of others. She's always going out of her way to do kind things for people. And she's really a go-getter. You give her a project to do, and you can have faith that she's going to do it and do it well. And she's always putting herself out there to do just amazing things and accomplish amazing things. And I'm super happy today to have Iris. Welcome, Iris.
Hi, thank you for having me. That was such a nice introduction.
Well, it's all true.
Thank you.
So before I hand over the reins to you, I would like to ask you one fun question. I'm wondering, what is the best thing that you have going on in your life right now?
Well, today's actually my first day of summer. I got out of school yesterday.
Yay.
So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm going to California in a week, 6 days. So I'm super excited about that. And yeah, I'm just going to be working this summer, but I'm just glad to be out of school.
Well, good. I'm happy for you, too. And I can't wait to hear about your trip to California.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right. Well, at this point, I'm going to hand the reins over to you, Iris, and feel free to ask away.
All right. So what was your life like before knowing Jesus, like you do now, in the way you do now?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home, so I always knew about Jesus. And actually, when I was very young, I accepted him into my heart, and I wanted to be a missionary, actually. I was just so full of the love for him and the desire to not see anybody not know him. And I think a lot of that love was actually grown out of the missionary conferences that our church and school used to have once a year. That was my favorite time of year. I used to love these missionary conferences and just hearing all the stories from the missionaries and just how God's love was reaching all these people in all these amazing places. And I wanted to do that. And the focus when I was younger was really a lot about the love of Jesus and him being the kind shepherd, and, we're the sheep and all of that type of stuff. And I don't know if it was my perception or was really, what was going on. But as I got older, a lot of the focus changed from really knowing Jesus and his love to following a whole bunch of rules. I have a lot of perfectionist tendencies.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to follow all the rules, and it was really hard.
Yeah.
And, I know now that we can't do that without God's grace and without his help. But I was trying to do all that in my strength, and it was impossible. And I just became so overwhelmed and depressed that I basically gave up. So the older that I got, the less interested I became in really following God. Yeah, it was, it was really hard. And I saw a lot of people around me that were in kind of like our circle, and I just didn't see a lot of stuff flowing out of them that actually was what I thought God should be. And I know we can't judge God based on other people, but in my teenage mind, that's pretty much what I did. And I just decided I wanted nothing to do with him. I couldn't be good enough. And I was just so tired of trying and failing that I just said, I don't want anything to do with God. Yeah. And it was that way until I was in my 30s, really.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I know like it can become like a burden. You're feeling like you're trying to just follow all the rules and just check off the boxes when that's not what God wants for you.
Yes.
He just wants a relationship with you.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you know that at your age, because I didn't know that then.
Yeah.
You know, it was about rules and not about relationship. And that's just such a heavy burden.
Yeah, I agree. So how'd you come to know Jesus and give your life to him?
Well, so really, in my 20s, I got involved with a lot of bad things. In my 20s, I was really partying and just hanging out with the wrong people and in a way, kind of just doing everything opposite of what I knew was expected of me and how I had been raised, because I was just hurt and angry. And I ended up, I stopped partying and all that type of stuff and settled down and got married and had kids. So all of the in-your-face crazy stuff kind of ended, but my heart was still very bitter and hurt. And I went through a period of time where I wasn't even sure I believed in God anymore. And I always kind of felt bad because I wanted my kids to know God, but it was like this internal struggle constantly going on. And then in my 30s, things in our family just got really stressful, and in my marriage got really stressful, and I just became really depressed. And I just kept on looking for things to try to come out of that depression or to fill this need inside of me. I just couldn't find anything. And I just was at this point in my life where I just felt so hopeless. And I just felt like, if this is it, what's the purpose? Like, what is the purpose of my life if this is all there is? Life just was not what I had hoped it would be. And I just was disappointed and I had had enough, and I just knew that something needed to change. And so in the meantime, a really close friend of mine pulled her kids out to put her kids in a private school, but she wanted me to go around and interview these different schools with her and get my opinion. So we went to this one school that was a Christian school, and I was super hesitant to go. A lot of my childhood pain came out when I went to that Christian school, and I actually went into the chapel on the tour, and I thought I was having a heart attack. My heart was just, oh my goodness, it was horrible. And so I ended up leaving and having to go to the hospital because I thought something was wrong. So they ran all kinds of tests and stuff like that, and come to find out it was a panic attack.
Oh, yeah.
And I really believe now that it was the Holy Spirit pulling on me. Yeah. He's pulling me back. But I was so stubborn. I didn't really give in to him yet. And so that same friend ended up enrolling her kids in that school. And then she decided that she wanted to start going to church, which she hadn't done before. But her husband wasn't interested in going with her. So she asked me to come with her. And I told her no, probably 4 or 5 times. And I was just like, no, I am not interested. I want nothing to do with that. And then I had a particularly bad weekend. It was in January, and just things, I was just at like an all-time low. And we were at the park, and I was just, talking to her about it. And she's like, why don't you come to church with me? And I was like, oh, fine, whatever. I'll try anything at this point. I just, A, want you to stop asking me. And B, I am just so desperate. Whatever, I'll try something. So I went to the church with her, and the message was on friends. It was about the friends lowering their friend down through the roof to get him healed, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. But also during the message, the pastor said, God is not mad at you. He's not angry about all the stuff that you've done. He is still welcoming you back to him. You've not gone too far. You've not done too many bad things. He still loves you, and he still wants to forgive you and bring you back in. Yeah. And that just wrecked me. Yeah. I'm going to cry, sorry.
No, you're fine.
So I couldn't believe it because I had done a lot of bad things. Mm-hmm. And I felt like God was really angry, and I had just blown it. Yeah. So I went home from that service, and I opened up my Bible. And I started reading my Bible, and it came alive to me in a way that I had never seen it before. Yeah. And everything in it just made so much sense. Like I had never understood it until that day. It was like I had never read it before, but I had 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And so, I gave my life back to God, and my, my boys ended up coming and they gave their lives to God. And that was really a change in our family.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how God uses that hopelessness, and it's like he uses the people in your life to bring you closer to him and to build a relationship with him.
Yeah.
That's a great
I'm so
story.
thankful to my friend. I mean, she was persistent, and if she wasn't, I don't know what would have happened, but I'm just so thankful to her.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So what's changed in your life after you gave your life to Jesus? What's different now?
Well, immediately I just felt hope. That was the biggest change. And I was just so hungry to know this Jesus that I discovered, because he wasn't the same, mean, angry God that I had known as a child. He was like this amazing, loving, caring person that I couldn't wait to get to know more of. And I just totally became on fire for him. But at the same time, things at home were getting really bad. My husband was not happy that I was going to church. He didn't marry a Christian, and he wasn't wanting to be married to a Christian.
Right. Yeah.
And, things at home became very tense. And it was one of the first lessons that God was really teaching me. I heard him so clearly when I was praying to him one time, just asking him for his help, because I was trying to be loving to my husband and not just like shoving the Bible down his throat, because I knew that didn't work. People did it with me and it didn't work. Just trying to be a good testimony to him. And I just heard God tell me just to focus on him, just focus on God, seek first the kingdom, and everything else would be added to me. And he would worry about my husband. So really for a year, that's what I did. And I just really sought after God and surrounded myself with believers that helped me and strengthened me. And I just became on fire for God. I wanted to tell everybody about him and all the things that he was doing in my life. I just became a completely different person.
Yeah. I think that's common, like people think that after you give your life to Jesus, you're just automatically, everything's going to be okay and everything's going to get better.
Right.
But that's not always the way it is.
No.
And I think that's what you're showing. So.
Yeah, but God was faithful, because after that year, I was involved in a ministry that was going out and feeding and preaching to the homeless, and a church had asked my friend and I that were doing it to come and speak to them because they wanted to donate, some blankets and food and stuff like that. And I was really nervous. I didn't like to speak in front of people. Yeah. So I asked my husband to come with me, and I just really begged him to just be there and support me. And it's really his testimony, but a multitude had things been going on behind the scenes to really prepare him for that. One of my prayers was that God would bring a godly man into his life that would be able to just really, and God absolutely did that. And I hope that one day my husband will come on and share his testimony, but he came to the church that day to support me, and we ended up staying at that church. And it was just amazing for the first time after, in a year of just having so much turmoil between the two of us, to be able to go to church together and both start walking with the Lord together.
Oh, yeah. That's great. So what's the biggest life lesson you've learned that can help someone else?
I think the biggest life lesson is that you're not too far from God. We can't judge who God is by the people around us and what they're doing. One day we're all going to stand before God and answer to him. And we are not going to be able to use the excuse that somebody else hurt us or somebody else did something or this is what they did or said. Yeah. We are accountable for ourselves and our actions. And it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing or how bad somebody's hurt us or, what somebody told us or taught us even, because we are all accountable to him ourselves. We have the Bible in front of us. We can read it and learn straight from the Bible. We don't need somebody else to explain it to us. I mean, it's helpful, but it's not really an excuse.
Right.
And, I know as kids, a lot of things are out of our control and we can't control what happens to us. But as adults, we really have the responsibility to find things out on our own and do the right thing and make the right choices. And I had been kind of using in my teen years an excuse of what everybody else was doing. Well, they're all hypocrites and stuff like that.
Yeah.
but also just God is not mad. He is waiting for us. He is willing to forgive us, and there's nothing that we can do that's too bad.
Yeah. Hard to understand because, like, we don't know that type of forgiveness. It's only him who can do that, and it's hard for people to understand that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that really just pursuing him.
Yeah.
Because that was like a big part. I ended up not staying at the church that I gave my life back to him for very long because I became so hungry. I wanted more. And I realized that pursuing him, really reading the Bible on our own and digging into who he is on our own was so important instead of just waiting on a church to feed us, because I was so hungry. I couldn't wait just for 1 hour every Sunday. I needed to have 1 hour or more every day, you know?
Yeah.
And really, you know, even though as a child, we learned a lot of verses and I didn't really understand them and really apply them to my life. I came back to God. It was just like they all just were still there, downloaded in my brain. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it because I hadn't even thought about them in, 15 years or more. And it was like so fresh in my mind, and I remembered them all. It just blew me away. So really that just shows the importance of memorization of verses too, because it really does just sink in. His word does not return void. And I saw that in my life for sure.
Yeah. And that just demonstrates you can't stray too far from him.
Yes.
I mean, you still had that all in your brain and you just weren't, thinking about that in that way. But once you came to know him again, it was all still there.
I mean, really, if he wasn't there with me, I know that your mom said this, but it's so true in my life too. If God wasn't there with me, even in my darkness and in my pain and in my disobedience and just evilness, I would not be here today.
Yeah.
I think back and there are several situations that I know that I am only here today because God had a plan for my life and he did not give up on me. And I know that. And it just overwhelms me with his goodness because he's good even when we're not. He's faithful even when we're not. We could say we don't want anything to do with you. And he's like, okay, but I still want to be with you. I'm still going to stand right here while you do all these things.
Yes.
And still love you and still protect you. And it just is mind-boggling, that love.
It is, yeah. It's so comforting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think that's all. So do you want to lead us in prayer?
Sure, I'd love to. God, I just thank you for your goodness, for your faithfulness, for your love, for your patience, your persistence. I thank you that even when we are not, you are still faithful. And that when we don't show you love, that you still are showing us love. I ask that today, even anyone that's listening to this that doesn't know your love, I ask that you just let them experience your tangible love. Let them experience your patience and your kindness in a way that they haven't experienced before. The Holy Spirit move on their hearts and just comfort them. Let them know that you are not angry, that you love them, that you want to bring them back into your family, that you want to forgive them, that you want to renew them, that you want to redeem them, that you want to change their life and give them hope that's only found in you. I thank you that you're just going to take away all that hopelessness, God, and that you're just going to give them purpose and life like they hadn't experienced it before. God, I thank you that you are just changing lives even today. I thank you for Iris, Lord. I ask that you just bless her and continue to work in her life. In your name, I pray.
Thank you for joining us today, and please consider subscribing to our podcast and sharing it with your friends. For more information on Renewed and Redeemed and to check out our Bible study, blog, and shop, please visit us at renew-redeemed.com. We'd love to hear from you if you need prayer, have a question, would like to share a testimony, or give your life to Jesus.
So today you heard my testimony. Well, at least parts of my testimony. I, like most of my guests, thoughtfully and prayerfully considered about what to share. Some details have been left out. But why would I do that? Because my testimony has other people in it, and different circumstances that involve other people. While I definitely believe we should speak whatever God is asking us to speak, I also believe that He has asked us for everything to be done in love. I want to be loving and honoring and cover those people. I don't want to share anything that would embarrass or harm another person. I'm not embarrassed of my testimony at all, though. I'm continuously amazed that God could save a sinner like me. But sharing it in such a public format could potentially hurt others, and that's not my intention. My intention is to give God the glory for what He's done in my life. My intention is to share with others what He's done, and hopefully they might find hope in it, and they might find truth in it, and know that God wants to and can do the same for them. Maybe one day I'll share all the parts of my testimony when God leads. What I'd like to encourage you to do is to talk to somebody, one-on-one. Share your testimony. Ask them their testimony. Ask them if they even know Jesus. If they don't, definitely share your testimony. It's a lot easier to give the needed details that will touch a person's life in a one-on-one setting, and to be honoring of the different situations in your life and the people that were involved. So that's my challenge to you today. Find somebody this week and share with them how God has renewed and redeemed your life.